Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about something that every woodworker, DIY, hobbyist is probably going to need to know at some point in time, and that is how to buy lumber. There's several different ways lumber is priced, and we're going to cover those today and also tell you how to calculate how much you'll need. So sometimes calculating how much lumber you need for a project can be a little bit challenging, especially if you have never been shown how to do it. So we're going to cover the three primary ways in which lumber is purchased. The first way lumber is purchased is by the linear foot. Now, when you're going to encounter this is usually in an instance where you're purchasing something like trim. I know you can go to Home Depot, and in their trim aisle, they actually have a handsaw, and you can measure out the number of feet you need and handsaw cut the piece to meet the needs that you have. And then they have like a bin that's like a leftover bin that you just put the leftover piece in. So that is the primary way in which most people will run into a linear foot type of purchase. And they'll have a price at the bin wherever you pull the piece of wood out, and it's going to say, 97 cents per foot or whatever it is that they have the price for. And then you just get the number of feet you need and pay at the register. They'll typically measure the length of the board at the register, and then you just pay for that. So that's the easiest one. You basically just need to know how many feet you need for your room. Because like I said, most times it's just trim. I can't think of any time I've ever bought it by the linear foot when it wasn't trim. The second way in which lumber is typically priced is just by the piece. So most of you, if you've done any kind of woodworking or DIY, have encountered this. You go into a home improvement store such as Lowe's, Home Depot, and you go to the aisle where they have their boards, and they're going to have a price per board. So a 1x6 8-footer is going to be this price, and a 1x10 10-footer is going to be this price. So you just basically need to calculate when you're doing your project planning, how many pieces can I get out of that board? So what I typically do when I'm planning it out is I'll look at the widths of my pieces. I'll find a board that hopefully that they'll fit onto width-wise. I don't want to have to glue up if I don't have to. So, if I need pieces that are 6.5 inches wide for my project that I'm working on, I'm probably buying a 1x8 or a 2x8, depending on the thickness. So then I just need to know how many inches in length I need for each piece, and then figure out how many I can get out of each board. So that is the second way. Again, it's just by the piece. You can also do that. I encountered a store just this morning. They're selling live edge slabs, and those were priced, most of them were priced by the piece. The last way in which lumber is priced is by the board foot. Now, you aren't going to always encounter this. If you only buy wood from the big box home improvement stores, I don't believe I've ever seen where they priced it by the board foot. Typically, when you do that, you're buying it from a lumber mill or a specialty store that has maybe exotic hardwoods or specialty type of lumber. Then they will price it sometimes by the board foot. So now what the question is what is a board foot? And that's what we really wanted to cover in this video so that you can understand what it is and how to plan accordingly for your project and how to make the calculations even to know how much to buy. So let's get started with that. So first we're just going to talk about what a board foot is. And basically what a board foot is it is a measurement of volume in a board. So what you typically do is you're going to measure the length, the width, and the thickness of the board. Now, you want to convert all these into inches if they're not already. So if you're measuring an 8-foot board, you gotta have to convert that to 96 inches when you do this. So measure everything in inches, length, width, and thickness, and then you're going to multiply all those together. You're going to get a cubic inch amount. So I have a board right here, and I'm going to measure it, and it measures 9.5 inches wide. It measures 17.25 inches long, and it is an inch thick. So what we do here then is we're going to multiply all three of those together, and I come up with 163.875 cubic inches. So to determine how many board feet are in this walnut board right here, I'm going to have to figure out how many cubic inches are in one board foot. So that would be 12 inches long, 12 inches wide, and 1 inch thick. That comes out to 144 cubic inches. So if I have 163.875 cubic inches in this walnut board, I need to divide that number by what's in one board foot, which is 144. Now, the 144 is a constant. If you can remember 12 times 12, then you can remember what you need to always divide by in order to calculate board feet. So if I take that number that I have, which is 163.875 divided by 144, I come out to, just an extending decimal number here, but we're going to round to 2 decimal places, 1.14 board feet in that board. Now, you're going to ask, what does that tell me? Well, if you go to the lumber store, just like you see here in this video, you'll see that these hardwoods are all priced by the board foot. Now, in the store, they tell you how many board feet, in this store at least, they tell you how many board feet are in the board that you're looking to buy. If you go to a lumber yard and order a large amount of rough lumber, they're going to pull random boards. You're going to need to tell them how many board feet you need. They're going to pull random boards to get you close to that number, and you'll get random widths, usually not random lengths, but random widths at least. And so you need to know the price per board foot to determine how much you're going to have to pay. So if walnut is $5.49 a board foot, then that board that I have sitting right here, and I don't know what the price of walnut is right now or not, but is about $6.25 for that piece. So that's how you calculate board feet. Now, if you're working on a project and you want to figure out the total amount of board feet for the entire project that you need to buy, and you're going to buy it from a sawmill or somewhere where they process the lumber, kiln dry it, all that stuff, you're going to want to go to your bill of materials, your sheet in your plans that says, these are all the pieces I need. And you're going to do this for each piece. Okay? Figure out the board feet for each piece. You're going to add up all those cubic inches. Okay? Bring them down to the bottom. Get a total cubic inches for the entire project. Then what I recommend you doing is multiply those total cubic inches by 1.2. Now, the reason I say 1.2, what we're doing is we're adding 20% to your board foot amount. Why do we do that? Well, because you're going to have waste. If you're buying from a lumber yard, their boards are not going to be the exact width you need. They're going to be thicker than you need, most likely. If you want to get your boards to 3/4 thick, final thickness, they're probably going to come rough from the lumber yard at 1 inch. So I recommend starting out by rounding all your thicknesses up to 1 inch when you do that initial calculation, because then you're on the same thickness as what you're buying it at. Then you add that extra 20% in, and that should take care of any waste that you would have and account for that so you don't end up short at the end, because if you order the exact amount of board feet, you're going to be short. But getting back to this example, so we multiplied the cubic inches by 1.2 to get that 20% overage. And then we're going to take those cubic inches, whatever you came up with after you multiply by 1.2, divide it by 144, and that's going to tell you how many board feet you need to buy when you go to that lumber mill. So it's basic math that you're using with this calculation. It's just multiplication, some division, but it is a little bit of a process. I recommend writing everything out, get your list of all the parts, multiply those dimensions out. Again, remember, round up to the thickness of the lumber you're buying. So either it's 1 inch thick, which they refer to as 4/4. You may need thicker pieces for legs. If you're not going to glue them up, you might need 6/4 or 8/4. So they're going to have a different price for each one. You'll have to determine the thickness that you need and buy accordingly. I hope this video helped give you a little bit of clarification on the lumber buying process. It's not overly complicated. It just takes a little bit of math, takes a little bit of planning prior to making the purchase to make sure you get what you need. If you have any questions about how to calculate board feet, ask them down in the comment section. I'll be glad to respond and try to help out as much as I can. Again, it's not overly complicated. You just need to know the process. So we'll see you next time.